Word up.
Word.
So there was a song when I was growing up. There, word up. Anyway,
Word up.
okay. Word. I am Carl. I'm a breathing human being, and you are. Oh, sorry. My sobriety day is August 22nd, 2014. That's why we're here mostly.
I'm Lindsay. I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is September 6th, 2015.
And this is SoberPod.
Soberpod.com. Yeah, SoberPod, keep it authentic, no facades. If it's real, then you know it's ours. Welcome.
So SoberPod, if you are totally unaware and you just stumbled on, like maybe you just like stumbled on this like audio file somehow, and you're like, "What the hell is this?" Well, SoberPod is a podcast. It's dedicated to the idea that one addict or alcoholic helping another is crucial to building a life in recovery. So whether that's Lindsay and I helping one another, or us helping you, or even vice versa at times, join us on this season as we read from our books, 366 Effing Day Sober. That's one of these books. And then as well as Lindsay's book, Spirit Vigilante. And you can get those books by going to soberpod.com or thespiritvigilante.com. And as always, what do we say? We say stay active, stay sober. Lindsay, how are you? Did you have a good holiday?
Yeah, I'm really well. I had a great holiday. Just feeling really fortunate and blessed for family and sobriety and being present, because that's not how it used to look. So how about you?
Oh, good. I only got one little tiff with my middle daughter.
Okay.
Over, during dinner yet again. So, but not the explosive tiffs that it used to be, right? So, that's it was very much calmed and everybody was understood, and that's yay. You know what I mean? Like, you can't ask for any better. So yeah, again, this is one of the first years that I decided I'm no longer going to like accommodate bullshit in my life. And so it was a nice spring experience, and it was very relieving, and I just kind of lived it at that point, and I was like, felt pretty good. So good deals. So yeah, so we just did the things that we were supposed to do: dinners, breakfasts, and presents, and all the other good stuff, and everybody was here and everybody was happy. So that's it.
Sweet.
Good stuff, huh?
How are you feeling about the new year approaching?
I'm it's so funny. I try to do it every year. I don't know if anybody else does this in my circles, but it's I do the daily stoic, right? Like I do daily stoic life, and they have a new year, new you challenge kind of a thing, and they kind of laugh at that too, which I kind of do too, which is like, it's like, resolutions are just kind of bullshit, right? More or less, especially if you're like quitting drinking or whatever. But one of the things it does do is it's a 21-day challenge that I like really try to do, and I fail miserably. It's been like 3 years now that I've done it.
What's the challenge?
Well, so there's like, again, it's all about setting patterns and routine, right? And it really is. So sometimes, and it has helped me to pick up a habit, like journaling, for instance. Like it really helped me to begin to do that, and stuff like that. So, but like one of the things that really sucks, and I hate doing it every year, and I've done it every year, but I just don't look forward to it at all. Actually, I was taking a shower thinking of it this morning, which is cold plunges and stuff like that. And it's like, and really what it's designed to do is that, and you don't have to do it every day or whatever, but it is something that is like, you go and submerge yourself in cold. I have literally a cold pool in my backyard that is not heated, that I'm sure that is, that I have no excuses of like to go into this thing. So, and it sucks because but what the lesson of it is to like teach the body to be obedient to the mind, right? And boy, that's I get real I'm a pussy. I'm a real pussy when it comes to this stuff.
It's uncomfortable.
It is. So that's the stuff that I hope to do like in the new year. But other than that, like I'm just looking forward to like, getting more clients, doing more work, and getting more actually creating more work. I think would be good rather than just receiving it. So yeah, stuff like that. And again, part of it is to be I guess resolution-wise, to be like more of service to others in a sense, right? So how can I be a better service? I guess that kind of thinking. That's about it. What about you?
Yeah, I have a similar thought. I don't think it needs to be this huge breakthrough moment. I'm always kind of checking in with myself and trying to see where I can improve. But I think energetically, with a lot of other people making changes and just all the things that come with that, like we're exiting the year of the snake, where we did a lot of shedding, and we're entering the year of the horse. So there's this onward movement. I like to pick a word every year, and I've usually just picked that to set the tone, but this year I'm trying to be really intentional about it. Like, what am I going to do with that word, though? Last year it was simplicity, and that's great, and that's a great idea, but I just have a little bit more of an involved process around it this year and want to be more conscious about it. So I was hoping we could talk about that today if you would enjoy that.
Word up,
dude.
Word, homie.
Word.
So talk to me about this idea. Do you talk about this in your book at all? Like they having like you kind of a deal?
I talk about in my book how important the words we use are, especially with ourselves. And so that's like our thought patterns and our beliefs. And there's all this research around mantras and repeating things to ourselves, and some people don't see how that's useful, but it's basically just choosing what you want your mantra to be, because whether you know it or not, you're repeating mantras to yourself every day. So, and they usually aren't the most helpful ones. So it's really just replacing those words and being conscious about choosing a new programming, which is something I'm consciously working on. And we've talked about this with the law of attraction and that kind of thing, but what you think up does become your reality. So for example, my word this year is value. For 2026 is value. So what does that mean? It's a beautiful word. It sounds great. But what does that mean, and how am I applying it? And I'm going to be asking myself, situationally, does this thought, this action, this behavior honor my value, honor value in general? Am I going to be exchanging energy in a valuable way? Am I going to be saying no to the relationships that don't respect my value? So that's kind of an example of how you can apply it. And I would love listeners to be thinking about that. And maybe, Carl, you could give us an example of a word that you might want to embody for 2026.
Oh, that I might want to embody. It's so. First, I do want to talk about for a second, because you got my brain going.
Please.
Yeah, when there was early in recovery, it was clear to me that what you said, that the words that I use matter, and I didn't really have a lot of thought around that stuff before I got sober, because I was like, who cares, right? Because most of my words were like an F word.
Well, we didn't even realize there was an us that we could be speaking to. You know what I mean? My thoughts are my thoughts. I can't change them. That's just my identity, right? So yeah.
But as it relates directly to my recovery, I remember sitting in rooms and I would hear people say, what do I say when somebody says, if they ask me for a drink, if I want a drink. And the language, just the language that you use around those things, or like, I can't or I don't drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the difference between can't and don't is a huge tell, right? Like I don't drink is a very, straightforward statement. I can't is like, why can't you? You're like, where's the, what do you mean you can't? Like, what I mean?
There's
Like,
some negotiation.
you want
there.
to?
Yeah.
Like, what do
Yeah.
you mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's so those words are very powerful in in just such a subtle way sometimes. So using that as the example to say like, okay, now moving forward, think about all the other areas of your life where you kind of do that stuff. I just did it. Boy, we're going to be like really picky at this point because I say you kind of do that. Well, kind of
Really
is
meta.
like one of those lead words, right? So, yeah, I can get caught up in a lot of that stuff where my thinking is kind of on the subconscious and I'm not really conscious or aware of it. That's why I liked when you said like, my goal is to check in with myself with the word value to question whether this is having value in my life, etc. Because really that awareness is so hard to come by.
Yeah,
And
I mean, we're both wordsmiths. We're both writers. Like, we love words. That sounds pretty. That sounds great. But what are we doing with it in our everyday lives?
Yeah. I did on April 5th. I wrote about mantras, right? And then one of the things that I talk about is it's so funny because I wrote these stuff on my mirror. I like do this stuff every day. Like this is stuff that like I really tried to like embody and live. And for a long time, I was really around this stuff until it really sunk in. Because a lot of these things, if you're not reminding yourself on a daily basis, like I had written the word breathe on my mirror like really big, and I'd also had like affirmations and stuff like that. And so let me read a quick entry from my book, just because I also love the fact that because where else do you bring up the words 80s dolphin shorts? Anyway, so here it is. So it says, you don't have a mantra? Oh, you've got to get a mantra, says the dude I just met on the sidewalk after an AA meeting. He looks crazy as all fuck. He wears an old hat and has 80s dolphin shorts on, but nothing matches. He looks like a fool. I pay the mantra talk no mind. Years later, I'm listening to a guy that I totally respect, and he is an established writer and cares for his family. He is a deep thinker with actions to match his thoughts. He has integrity, and I admire that. One day, he is talking about creating a mantra for himself, and he has 3 tattoos on his body of these mantras. These mantras are statements he lives by, and when circumstances arise that apply to the situation, which is what you're talking about, he recites these mantras. He suggests that I create a mantra for myself too. Says it helps to keep him focused when circumstances arise. Here are some examples of mantras. I deserve joy and happiness. My body is a temple. I am a work in progress, and I evolve every day. I am worthy of love without being perfect. One day at a time could also be a mantra, right? The idea is that they are short and personal and realistic to achieve. What is mine? I'm still thinking about why I judged the guy with the funny hat. But the whole thing here is that, like, I used to have like stuff like early in recovery that I talked about. If I am persistent, I will get it. If I am consistent, I will keep it. And you could just take those words out and say persistent or consistent, right? So if I was to say consistent but by the way, that word in my early recovery came up a lot for me. When I was talking to my sponsor, it would be just like that kind of stuff, right? He would be like, I would be, in a situation arguing about my wife and my kids and whatever, saying, they're all just assholes or whatever I'm saying. And he would remind me, like, what your wife really wants? She really just wants you to be consistent. And I would be like, there's that fucking word again. You know what I mean? And so these are the things that, whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not, it's like, there's a word, there's a reason why you chose value, right? Something in your environment, Something in your life has been, you know, hovering around that word for whatever reason, and then you go and you picked it and plucked it out of the air and you said, all right, this is the word. So it's like, if we're listening, we get really lucky to hear that stuff, and then we get to focus on it, and we get to make it a part of our life, and then we get to integrate that into our existence, which is beautiful stuff. But if we're not on the beam, quote unquote, if we're out there fucking off, if we're out there, expressing our dysfunction or whatever it is that you want to call it, if we're out there being assholes, we don't usually hear that stuff, right? So how do you think you heard the word? How do you think you came up with that word? I would love to know, like, why you think that was like the thing.
I know exactly why it was the thing. I don't know how I came up with that word in particular. It just kind of entered my mind. I wasn't even trying to think of a word. I mean, I had been trying to think of it. Like, I knew that I wanted to choose a word for 2026, but it wasn't like in that moment I was running through words in my mind. It just came to me. And the reason is that I think that I've been looking for external validation to determine my value, and it's really only something that I can assign. And if you're looking at this through the lens of sobriety, if that seems like too abstract of a concept, like, you can run that word through a filter that's sobriety specific. Like, what value am I providing to this situation? What's the value of my service? What's the value of my recovery right now? What value will recovery bring to my life? So you can create your own filter for these thoughts, actions, and behaviors in applying that word. Because Carl is right, and I'm glad he brought up consistency and, repetition, because we're reprogramming our minds. And it took a long time for these thoughts and beliefs to integrate and become part of us, and it's going to take time and effort to really install these new patterns. So being patient with yourself, but at least you have a choice now. At least you know what patterns, you're being intentional about what patterns and behaviors you are and thoughts you are installing, rather than just kind of like letting your mind decide that for you, which I'm guessing if you have a problem with alcohol might not be the most helpful thought or mantra.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because these words have like changed and have grown as as I do, right? So it's whatever I need to focus on. It's whatever I has become more important. And early on, it was stuff like it was like persistence, but it was like dogged persistence, right? Because I was like, I never had dogged. I just would go with the flow, whatever. I would, I had what my first sponsor called, what my second sponsor, John, would call flexible morality, right? So I had to have more dogged persistence about what I was going to be doing in the world and how I was going to be doing it. And I needed to be unflinching about it. I couldn't just be like, I had to decide what was valuable or what had virtue, right? That's my word is virtue, but not morality, virtue, like that. Necessarily, but yeah, same kind of a thing. It's like I wanted to be doing good, but I just didn't, I didn't have any practice for it, so yeah, that helped.
And I'm glad you brought up the how, like how you perform things in your daily life, because whether or not you're making any changes, you can apply this word to make changes in things you're already doing, but being more conscious and intentional about how you're doing them and how you're showing up. And we've talked about this before, like how you do one thing is how you do everything, So again,
apparently I procrastinate on everything.
That's not true.
No, it's not true. I do get some things done, but I don't get them done in the time in which I feel that they should be, right? Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So, I was just saying, how you do the things you already do will already be such a mindset shift. And so really creating a couple questions for yourself that feel natural and resonate with your word, and just checking with yourself about how you're So let's use yours, virtue. What would be a filter or a kind of phrase you might ask yourself when making a decision to make sure that you are in alignment with your conception of virtue?
You know, it's so funny. Like, so if I trigger myself with virtue, right? Am I being virtuous, right? And I usually assign that to goodness, right? So it's kind of like part of it. So I literally go back to the cardinal virtues, right? You know, like that's kind of like they're cardinal for a reason, right? Because they are primary virtuous, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what I end up doing, and then if I really want to dig into it, you know, a lot of it is a really good example. This is like real world virtue shit. It's not virtue signaling either.
Virtue
it's not like
shit. Virtue shit.
Virtue
That's
shit.
good.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to speak layman's language for my people.
No,
So,
I love it. I love it.
When I was leaving a meeting once, I got pissed off because there was traffic, right? And of course all the cones were up and they were redirecting me away from my home, not to my home. Those motherfuckers, right? And I got so pissed off and angry, and I was just, I was rolling down the construction work. You know, it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night or something. I'm screaming out my window, "You fucking sons of bitches! Like, fuck you!" Like, you know, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I am just out of my fucking mind. And then on the way home, after I'd run over a few more cones,
people.
I got close to people. I could have run over people. That's the worst part about it. I then, you know, after like, you know, the construction zone's gone and I'm going home, I imagined, what if my sponsor was sitting next to me during that whole trip, during that whole fucking freak out, right? And that's when I was like, oh, so what had happened to me was like, am I performing, am I behaving in a way that is in line with who I desire myself to be? Am I in line with the virtue of that I desire, right? And that's the visual and the representation that I used. So because I talked to that person a lot about, you know, what it means to be virtuous, doing the right thing when nobody else is looking, and like, you know, standing up for my beliefs and what I think and feel and da da da. And he represents that to me, right? So now if I put him in this situation sitting in the passenger seat next to me, you can be guaranteed that I'm not going to be screaming out my window, "You fucking sons of bitches," right? It's going to be a very good representation. But it's the it's cognitive behavioral therapy stuff. I need to interrupt that thinking. I need to like find a moment where that happens, and it does happen, by the way. And it definitely happened even before I started ranting, because there was a moment when I was just like, right before I started to say the stupid shit, right before I rolled down my window, I had the thought of like, I'm being ridiculous, right? And I'm not living up to my standard. And literally, but I said, fuck it, and just rolled down the window and started screaming because it felt good, right? And that's kind of the idea, right? So like, that's where you take action, and you don't get there initially, right? It doesn't happen initially. I don't know about you. I had to call that sponsor or tell somebody else a lot, or go to a meeting and say, this is what I did yesterday and it sucked. And I ran a red light because I'm this. I was pissed off, or you know what, I was thinking about drinking because I just don't, I can't stand being in my own skin. Whatever it is that you end up doing, like, you need to for me, I needed to communicate it somehow into the world and with other people to make it real, so it wasn't just in my head anymore. And as soon as I was able to do that, I was able to then, the next time, especially remember, fuck, I'm going to have to call my sponsor and talk about that shit. Fuck, I'm going to have to go to a meeting if I do that shit and say that shit out loud. And I don't want to do that. And that's why honesty is a good word to use to begin with. And it just starts to kind of roll out from there. So does that help? Does that like...
Definitely.
It's very exemplified in that situation.
Yeah, right? I love that really, really clear example. Yeah, and that's a good one. And that just goes to show that we can make a choice, and having that pause and applying that word, can be very practical. This isn't just like fluffy ideas that sound nice. And I think just by setting the intention and raising your awareness about it is like you're halfway there,
Exactly.
And being like, universe, higher power, whatever, help me with this. This is how I want to be. Doing those actions will determine who you become and who you are. You are what you do type thing. So instead of just dreaming of like, oh, I would love to be like that person. They're so virtuous, or they know their worth, or they know their value. It's like, what do they do? Model that.
Exactly. What do they say? They say, you don't think your way into right acting, right? You act your way into right thinking, and that's just how it works. You put yourself out there. You take one step at a time. On my monitor, on my bezel of my monitor, I have now in more permanent vinyl lettering. I used to just have Post-it notes there. It said like, do the next indicated step, because that's the stuff that we talk about in program. And I actually went and did it up. So now it's on the bezel of my monitor. It says, do the next indicated step, because that really helps me to not procrastinate. So that kind of mantra, and it's been up there for like 2 years, but I just kind of don't see it anymore. So I need to do something different. but that's kind of how that works.
Like cues to action, right? Like
exactly.
Your stimuli, don't take lightly what you're surrounding yourself with every day.
Yeah.
If you were to just put a word somewhere you see every day, that's going to be happening on an unconscious level even.
Exactly.
So it's like align all of this and integrate it into all parts of your life. And I'm glad you brought up virtues, because I have a suggestion if anyone is like really stumped on choosing a word. If you are in a program or somewhere that's encouraging you to look at I don't like calling them defects, but that's a word that people can understand. Maladjustments, maybe maladaptive coping mechanisms, misalignments. Like, think of one that you're
funny. I have all those
with.
M words that you just said written in my ACA book in the back.
That's hilarious.
Misaligned, maladjusted.
Well, because words are important, right?
No, totally.
And that's why, like, I have to pick words that I'm comfortable with and what I want in my program. And like, defect sounds like a car to me, and I don't think we're problems to be fixed. I think we can just make adjustments to
because if you're maladjusted,
tendencies. Exactly. And like, we have coping mechanisms, we might as well make them adaptive. Those values. So if you might even be easier to think about it in the negative and then reframe it into a virtue, as Carl named.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you were getting on there too is like to challenge people to come up with their own words. What I would really love to see, I'd really like to see more comments and participation this year for sobriety for SoberPod. So if you, maybe we should just do that as a challenge for every episode, right? So that
and we'll name it in the beginning or even in the show notes or something.
Yeah.
So
I'll put it in the show notes to say what is the word that you're going to use this year to help you in your recovery or your sobriety or your life or whatever. What's the one word that you're going to? But think about it. Don't just like plop down a word, But think about, because I know Lindsey and I probably think about our words way too much. But I know, because again, I know that like. I know that those things help, and maybe that's why it's so important to us right now on this episode to communicate that to other people, is because it has been a tool that I have used very, not consistently, but just a lot in my journey of recovery. There are, like I said, there's times when it just, you realize that's the word that I need right now. That's the one thing that I'm lacking, and it's causing me a lot of pain and da-da-da. And, if you look at it, we touched on it with the defects, quote unquote, that's really what you're doing is ultimately you're taking something that you feel is a defect. But what you're really doing is, instead of just listing out, I have a fucking defect, I'm defective, help me, I'm helpless. What you're doing is just defining the solution to that maladjustment, right?
Rather than running away from or trying to repress dishonesty, right? And saying to yourself, I'm going to stop being dishonest. I'm going to be I'm going to not be dishonest ever again. It's like, no, you're going to be honest.
Yeah.
Frame it in the positive, what you want to embody. And just as a general disclaimer, Carl and I only suggest things that we've
Done.
practiced and have done. I sometimes will say, I've heard someone say this worked for them. But the things that we really usually center our episodes around, like we've been practicing for over a decade each.
Yeah.
So I just want to name that these aren't just pies in the sky. We actually are, like, we've found benefits, and that's what makes us so passionate about, spreading that message to you.
And there are like things that are very easy. Like this is like it's a very easy thing to understand intellectually, but how hard is it to live these things? It's very difficult. Like it's very difficult to stop yourself in your old pattern and your own behavior and do that again. So give yourself some grace and some forgiveness, because it's not always going to be like, oh yeah, just because you know it doesn't mean you will do it. It means that you have to experience enough pain, or to give it enough consideration, or take enough action to make those things really happen. And that's something that you get by experience only, right? So yeah, give yourself some grace if it doesn't happen right away.
And what does that word mean to you? Like if I say the word love and say to explain it in 5 words, Carl and I might have completely different definitions of that,
Yeah, totally.
So what does it mean to you? And then I would suggest going a step further. How do I know if someone's violating my value? How do I know when I'm practicing value? How do I know when I'm not practicing it? Like you can really, really go as deeply as you want if it doesn't feel like enough to simply choose a word.
And again, to not focus on the negative and to focus on the positive. This is these words become guidance for you, and they become like, directional, right? It's a compass in a sense. It's like, yeah, you may go off track now and then, but if you can bring these words to mind, and if you can put them into the forefront of your life, it's not just a resolution anymore, or a New Year's resolution. It is a new way of living. One of the things that I didn't talk about in this book, or the book that I read that thing from, it was from April 5th, I think it was. I have on here like the 3rd step prayer, right, is written down in my handwriting. I don't know if for those of you who are watching in video, you'll see it there, 3rd step prayer. So
Nice.
So the fact is I do that 3rd step prayer with a lot of the same kind of intention. Right? A lot of the same words that are in there, I definitely am trying to use. And I think one of the big parts of that, and I even said it at the top of the show, is like, I want to be of more service to other people, right? The 3rd step prayer really reminds me of that. It reminds me of like, what my quote unquote, my my duty is, right? In those virtues. So, in being virtuous. So again, that's the kind of stuff that you could do. So if you are a praying person, you can totally use that to do those types of things. If you're an atheist, you can totally just look at it as in like, I'm just going to use this word as a mantra, or just like a guiding principle, a compass in my value. You can do it that way. There are many ways to take what we're talking about and apply it into your your spiritual life, your religious life, your agnostic life, whatever it is that you want to end up doing. So I just want to make sure that I communicate that it's like it's something. It's another tool that you can use in your arsenal of maladjustment or adjustment.
and talk about it with people. Like be vocal about it, and maybe someone you're close to, or sponsor or mentor type figure. Like, this is my word. When you notice me violating it, let me know, or maybe finding a buddy and you both share each other's words with each other and check in when you want to review and see how things are going, like make this part of your being.
An accountability buddy.
Accountability buddy, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love accountability. You're an accountability buddy for me.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's what the podcast has been for me. It's like
Yeah.
every time I, because there's times when I don't make it to a meeting, and I'm like, yeah, maybe not this week, but there's
This is the meeting.
but this is the thing that keeps me there. So Lindsey, what would you suggest for somebody? First of all, I would suggest don't tattoo these things right away.
That's a really good suggestion, actually.
Yeah, please. Like I know you really want to commit to it, but let's leave the ink off of our skin for now. And what do you?
I waited 8 or 9 years to get my sobriety date.
Oh, you did.
Tattooed
Okay,
on me. So.
Yeah, I have no sobriety tattoos going on.
I
so.
understand. So Carl just told you what not to do. What is my suggestion? God, I feel like I already gave a lot. And I just want to reiterate that we are practicing this with you. I'm not saying one year. In 2022, I picked a word and it worked well. Like, I am doing this.
I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Don't overthink it. Just let it come to you over the next few days, next week or so. Put it on your calendar every month so that you remember. Put it on a Post-it note. Like all of these things. Write it, act it, do it, talk about it. Repetition is the mother of skill. So just keep it in the forefront of your mind. Is what I would say.
Word, homies. All right, Lindsey. I think we've cooked this Christmas goose or this New Year. We've punished this New Year's baby long enough.
Okay.
I just went straight there.
I prefer baby over turkey, actually. So.
Okay, that's great. So I guess you have a few things coming up. I want to make sure that people understand. So you are doing, and I don't know, are you still signing people up for?
Yeah. The applications close on January 11th. So,
okay.
You can reach out to me if you have any questions. But
so it's kind of like it's almost like a New Year challenge kind of thing. How long does it go for? What is it called again? First of all, I want to make sure people know.
The Artist's Way, a year of creative reawakening. And so it's no matter what kind of artist you are, writers tend to do it a lot, but you can be any kind of artist, and it kind of shows you this higher path to incorporating spirituality into your creativity and vice versa. And having this experience talking about accountability, like having a whole cohort of them where we can support each other as we walk through that process. So I'm
is that
really,
in
really
person
excited.
Only, or is it online?
It's virtual. It's only
virtual.
virtual.
All virtual?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep,
sweet.
all virtual.
So anybody can do it from anywhere, anytime.
Yes.
Oh, look at
And
that.
it's
That's
mostly asynchronous, so like you're in constant discussion with people, but don't have to log in at a certain time to do that. So like you can be on any time zone and respond to people. We will have an optional monthly Zoom if you do want more of that interaction in real time. Cool. But yeah, I'm super psyched. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, I got a lot out of doing the Artist's Way. I really think that is like one of the things that like really unlocked me from creative. You talk about artists. I think it really helped my journaling, of course. But it's so funny you talk about any artist. I was like sandwich artists. Probably not for sandwich artists. Probably for not people working at Subway.
Probably not. That's a different one that Subway sponsors.
Yeah. So, but let me just say, I did appreciate like all the things in there, and I think a lot of those things actually did probably make some of their way, like the challenges that are in there. Some of those things made their way into the stuff that I do in my book as well.
There's so much overlap. Yeah, exactly. And you're constantly checking in with yourself month through month. So
yeah, I would have loved to join a cohort with the first time that I went through that stuff. That would have been absolutely necessary. But yeah, I did as much as I could. And actually, I ended up buying that for people as gifts because I think it's like a really powerful
She just
thing.
came out with a new book, which she hasn't in a long time. I think it's like the Artist's Way Daily something.
Oh.
Yeah,
Daily
someone
Reader
sent me a picture when they were in New York because
Interesting.
I'm doing this class. Like, she just came out with a new book.
Well, if you have the money and the time and the desire, I recommend heading on over to thespiritvigilante.com. So this is it. This is it for the end of the year. We're not doing any more podcasts until next year.
Uh-huh.
So Lindsey, what do
It's
you?
been a great one.
Yeah, it's almost been a whole year doing this with you, right?
Oh no, we've been doing it over a year. Because I
Over a
remember
year?
we did a Wonderful Life Christmas episode. I think we started working together in like November or December of 2024.
Oh my gosh, I can't even recall.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I will say trust your truth.
I will say
Word.
word.
Soberpod.com. Yeah. It was a sight to see him. Breakfast with Sprite and Seagrams. Wrestling with my vices, exercising my demons. My blessings were blocked, so I never got the message. I'm stressing, I'm only 12 steps from an exit. Regret it, because my imperfections were perfected. I ain't run from it, I accept it and rep it. It's a badge to me, good stories come from a tragedy. And when you survive, the glory will come in Act 3. The wait's over, 366 days sober. Morning affirmations that can start the day for you. Use my favorite bookmark for a placeholder. Finish when the day's over. Okay. Yeah, sober pod, keep it authentic, no facades. If it's real, then you know it's ours. Welcome.